Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by Generals Joe's Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart and the General himself, Justin Generals Joe's Bell. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Weekly. It's been a while, but it is the Full Force Weekly.
You've missed an episode,
At least
haven't
it's
you?
been a while for me.
Yeah.
You guys were here last week.
Yeah, Justin slotted in nicely, and actually we got him back on. He was that good, right, Justin?
It was so smooth that you invited me back. Yep.
Just for anyone out there, everyone is always invited from the presenters on this show. It's just that I was just ignoring Justin because I thought he was too busy all the time.
I believe the message was, "I'm desperate. Please come help me." Pat abandoned me, and
Pat's abandoned me at the last minute. What are
Yeah.
we going to do? No, it wasn't that bad at all. But yeah, cool. We're all back. Three of us are going to take on the massive amount of news this week. I mean, we joke about this, don't we, Pat, about how with the fewer the news stories, because there's not many this week, the fewer the news stories, the longer the episode. So I thought I'd make it even harder on myself by inviting a third.
Works for me. I'm always game for making it hard for you, Chris.
That's gross. But yeah, he's right. Right, I suppose we might as well just get stuck into it then, lads. 3 not very big news stories, but stories nonetheless. Last week, the toysrus.co.uk website posted a message claiming that the franchise would be returning to the United Kingdom sometime in 2022. The site offered users the chance to become VIP subscribers in order to be in the know for any details regarding the new launch, and as yet, haven't given us any new details. That said, if the launch is anything like the US one, then expect smaller pop-ups to appear in department stores across the country very soon. Pat, do you expect a similar rollout here to what we've seen in the United States already?
You mean similar in the UK? Probably. I don't think that they're just going to open tons of stores all at once. They'll probably open up one flagship and then, kind of trickle some into the back of some department store. Yeah, that's kind of what I expect. The Toys R Us next to me that I was, in some ways you kind of hope that eventually it'll reopen or something will happen. The spot's going to reopen. It's been demolished and it's going to be a gas station. So I'm just sad to hear Toys R Us.
That sucks. And like Justin, you've just had a Target built. So are you expecting a Toys R Us to go up there pretty soon as well?
Yeah, no. I will say, similar story to Pat. We have a favorite Toys R Us, or I have a favorite Toys R Us down in Nashua, New Hampshire, and there's also, like, right next door, there's this gourmet cookie place called Crumble Cookie that my daughter absolutely loves. So whenever we're down in that area, which isn't that often these days, but occasionally, she wants to stop at Crumble Cookie, and we always drive by, and then Toys R Us is like this broken shell of what it used to be. And I just drive by, and I'm just like,
with the Spirit of Halloween banner across it.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, it's pretty depressing. But yeah, no, I'm taking what I can get. I'll take my Target. That's a step in the right direction for us here.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? I mean, like and coming back to the kind of the UK kind of news here, I think being that it's slightly different. The countries are slightly different, aren't they? Let's face it. UK is a lot. Well, the UK, multiple countries, but it's much smaller than the United States of America, to the point where you could probably fit multiple. In one state, you could probably fit multiple Englands, especially. So I get the feeling that there could be an opportunity here for them to roll out stores in spots that maybe used to have Toys R Us stores, or there are like smaller kind of shopping spots that they could probably create into Toys R Us stores. We don't know yet, unfortunately. They say sometime in 2022. Could be any time. We're still expecting more details on this, but as it stands, it's very likely going to look like what Pat was mentioning about the kind of small little pop-ups within department stores. And we obviously we don't have Macy's in the UK, and we don't have Sears and those kind of those places, but we do have things like, I think, BHS, and I'm trying to think of the other ones. House of Fraser possibly is another one. So I don't know if they're going to do something similar like that in like malls. But probably it's not even like a great time to be reintroducing retail, is it? Like in at this point, especially with Omicron. Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's kind of weird timing. Yeah, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they kind of start things now and try to ramp up in time for next year's holiday season. I don't know. But yeah, it seems that like right after the holidays, the kind of global climate going on right now, it does seem like an odd time to really start launching a new brick and mortar initiative. But
yeah, I can't imagine they're going to get a lot of product shipped there in order to launch a lot of brick and mortar stores.
That's the other point, isn't it? God, like, you add in yet another, like, I suppose, like, cog to the system in that whole, that shipping and, manufacturing to get that stuff to the stores as well. Like, that's going to be a right pain in the ass. Anyway, that's the UK, and that's Toys R Us news at the moment. We'll keep you up to date on all of that stuff. At the moment, obviously, we've got Toys R Us back. Have you guys actually ventured into any yet? Because I know we've been in one Macy's that had like a coming soon, Jeffrey, and a little tiny like segment with some toys that had, Toys R Us kind of stuff around it, but it wasn't like mind blowing. Have you guys actually kind of seen any of that yet?
I haven't. I don't have any of even those pop up locations around where I am. I've got.
Yeah, because you're in the Serengeti at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm in the New Hampshire, Vermont wilderness. So yeah, no, I haven't seen anything like that.
It's half an hour away in a direction that I never go. So if for some reason I was out there and I thought about it, I would stop out. Otherwise, when Toys R Us shut down, I got some of their shopping baskets and, like a Jeffrey action figure. I may have just as much Toys R Us stuff.
Did you go looting, Pat?
No, I didn't go looting. They were actually selling those baskets. So I was happy to get them. Well, some locations were selling them. Some of them were mean about it. And they were like, no, you can't have these. We need them. It's like, it's the last day. What are you
going to need it for? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the other ones were like, yeah, just a few bucks. We'll take that. I mean, they sold them to me. So
we went to our Toys R Us on it was in the last week basically, and Kate managed to take one of those, like, I almost said steel, but she didn't. Take one of those like kind of side panels, like with the curve at the top, like the kind of plastic wobbly side panels with Jeffrey on it. We grabbed a couple of the kind of bags as well, but like that was all we really kind of got at the end of days. It was the saddest, man. That was so bad. And then going past there and just seeing it completely painted over. The sign came down and there's just that kind of like stain of where the letters used to be. Super depressing. So yeah, that sucked, didn't it? That was really bad because we were going in that Toys R Us every week. Sometimes like every other day we'd be in that place. Like if we had to go do shopping in Colombia, we'd drive down. It'd be like Toys R Us, yeah, and we'd always go in there, and it was actually a really nice one, and had a lot of cool stuff in there. So I was really surprised that it did. And it always seemed to be doing well. There's always people in there, and we were always buying stuff there, but obviously we weren't enough to keep it afloat at that point. Anyway, that's Toys R Us. That we don't want to get too into it because we're going to start going into nostalgia, and we'll save that for a monthly episode, the Toys R Us special, where we talk about all of our favourite moments. There you go. There's a monthly topic for us to talk about. Anyway, next up, in what would have been the biggest news for us to be talking about had it not been for the last segment, which we'll get to shortly, and that's in Toy Fair news. Last week, we reported on the news that a number of big retailers and toy companies had backed out of New York Toy Fair 2022 over fears of the Omicron COVID variant. At the time, I suggested that it was highly unlikely that the show would continue at all with so many big names out of the mix, and on Tuesday, the Toy Association released an official statement cancelling this year's event, slated for February the 19th to the 22nd at the Javits Center in New York City. President and CEO of the Toy Association, Steve Passierbe, explained that they had to make the decision based on the shift from attendees' legitimate concerns around the pandemic that guided their thinking, but Passierbe blamed constant unfounded rumours on social media and elsewhere for defying the Toy Association's best efforts to sustain the show amid global uncertainty surrounding the pandemic. In all honesty, it's probably for the best when you take into account the businesses and companies who had already backed out of the event prior to the cancellation. It seriously would have defeated the entire point of Toy Fair for any existing attendees anyway. Pasierb insisted they would return, but there was of course no mention of when they plan to do that, if at all, this year, so I fully expect to have to wait until February 2023 for the next show. It's a real shame, but the risks were too great for most, and it makes sense from the Toy Association's perspective to cancel the show and focus on the next one. I'm bummed out about the news, obviously, but had the fair and corresponding Hasbro preview event gone ahead, I very likely would not have attended, taking into consideration the risks that would entail in a city like New York. Expect to see a lot of special online events from multiple toy companies over the next month or so, as they plan to show off the year's upcoming product. The only real silver lining, obviously, to come out of that news, of course. I'm also sorry to announce the continuation of the full force, much to everyone's disappointment. Justin, this was always going to happen, wasn't it, after the mass exodus?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much a done deal. I mean, after so many companies sort of backed out, I don't know why the dude felt the need to like kind of blame social media or whatever, because it was more the company's doing than really anything to do with the rumors on social media. But yeah, I think, you know, even if it did go on, it would have been a shell of its former self. And I think anything that, or most things that we would have been interested in as collectors, I think even if Toy Fair itself had gone on, I suspect that those smaller like showcases, those probably would have been canceled anyway too, because they're often very small contained areas. I know it's been a while since I've been to a Hasbro preview event, but when I used to go in there, you go down to the showroom, you're literally like shoulder to shoulder with, you know, dozens of other people trying to wedge your way in to take pictures. And just the thought of that now really kind of gives me the willies. But
I'll give you the willies.
I can't. The plural, or I don't know how that's going to work. But,
I've got loads in jars. It's fine.
But yeah, I mean, it's so, yeah, anything that we would have as collectors been invested in, I just think probably wasn't going to happen anyway. I do feel bad for some of the smaller companies, you know, companies like Boss Fight, who we all know very well, were, you know, obviously need Toy Fair a lot more than some of the big boys do to sort of show their product off to potential retailers. So I do feel bad for some of those folks, but a lot of the bigger names like Hasbro and people like that probably it wasn't going to be the same show that it had been in the past. And I think this gives them an opportunity, like you said, to do some online things and kind of, you know, PulseCon sort of events that honestly get more accessible. I mean, the one thing about the Toy Fair that I always struggled with was it was a race. You know, you were elbowing people and fighting them to see who could get the pictures first and upload it first, and people were jumping from site to site. They didn't know where to go because this tank would post some pictures, you know, other places would post other pictures, and it was really tough to kind of navigate all the different scattered information. At least with a Hasbro online event or Mattel or NECA, what have you, they will consolidate all the information into kind of a central place. We'll probably announce a specific time that they're going to post all this stuff. And I think for collectors at home, it just might be a more friendly, you know, experience. You know, I'm sad personally because, you know, although I haven't been in several years, it was always one of my most favorite things to do throughout the year was to go into the city, go to New York, have that experience. You go to Times Square, go to the Times Center where Hasbro typically did their presentation, see familiar faces, and just enjoy that experience. That was something I really enjoyed doing. So from that perspective, it's sad for sure, but I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. When I stole your ticket and went, that actually was a lot. I loved it, but you're right. You're in a separate, like we were in a separate building, separate from the Javits Center. And for the Hasbro preview event alone, you go in, you get checked in, you go down some stairs, and then you're just kind of like, I suppose, herded into this space, and it's just it's just thick with people, and you're literally, you're right, shoulder to shoulder, and then you go down the stairs, and then you go into all this kind of like cool rooms and everything, and that's where they had the new G.I. Joe Classified laid out and everything. It was really cool. We also had, I think one of the first times they'd done it, I mean, it might not have been, but I'm sure they said something like, this might be the first time we've done this. They televised, I think it was just the televised aspect of it, but they televised that bit where you're sitting in a theatre and they're doing like presentations. An auditorium, and I was there with John Golombiewski, big shout out to Busk, and we were like watching it. In front of me I had the Fanthatrax guys from the Star Wars crew from the UK in front of me, and they were like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what are you doing here? It was quite it was one of those like everyone's pointing at each other like Spider-Man, and it was great. Amazing event. Really wish I could have done it the following year. Obviously didn't happen. That toy fair was just like weeks prior, wasn't it? I mean, maybe it was just
I think it was
COVID
March when things really started exploding, and that was in mid-February. So it would have been a couple of weeks before everything went.
There's no way I'd have gotten away with traveling to New York at that. Like if it had been a little bit later, my goodness.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting time period because we just moved as well. Like it was, we just moved house. And then the next weekend was that. So I was like, wow. Anyway, going to miss that and obviously going to have to wait again until next year. But, Pat, are you expecting a big online event?
I expect there to be a lot of individual online events. For G.I. Joe, I think that we will get something. For Transformers, I think we get something. I think Hasbro has done a tremendously good job of filling in that gap and actually... in a lot of ways, the way that they present things makes things a lot more clear to me as to what's coming out rather than having to, like Justin said, it's a hungry hippos of trying to grab onto the news.
Yeah, very accurate. Yeah.
For me, it was difficult because I would go to several different websites the day of, but then I'm balancing that. I'm balancing that with having to go to work. And usually I would get an understanding of what actually was shown at Toy Fair several days afterwards, whenever I would see a full rundown on His Tank or whichever website that I use, because G.I. Joe isn't the only thing that I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So, I think there will be a lot of online coverage.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Hungry Hippos again. Sorry, carry on.
I think the danger here is that over time, if we keep on just having those online events and we don't have Toy Fair, what's going to happen to some of those smaller companies that were using Toy Fair for Toy Fair? Because Toy Fair was not created to have collectors get to see new toys. That was like a byproduct of Toy Fair. Yep. Toy Fair was created so that, the buyers from big companies could meet up with all the toy companies. And some smaller companies actually had the opportunity to meet with those buyers and show off some of the stuff and maybe actually, get their feet on the ground and get something out there. And I'm almost concerned that if you have the majors backing out, then over time, there's just going to be a shift in what happens with those smaller companies and even some of the larger ones. Like what's going to happen with the smaller product lines? It's going to become a problem. And so I can definitely see how Passierb is frustrated with this situation. I think that we're all frustrated, really.
Nobody is more frustrated.
No one's more frustrated than us.
See you in New York City.
Yes, I'm looking forward to certain times, getting out of these uncertain times and back to certain times.
Yeah, the time needs to be certain again, doesn't it? Basically,
it does.
All these times, all these like times that are just floating around that are uncertain. We need certain times again.
It's Toy Fair's got an interesting history. I think a lot of people don't realize, especially new collectors, that it was an industry only event. Like it was closed off to the public.
You wouldn't see images for months.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first time I ever really saw anything out of Toy Fair might have been even like in the Toy Fair magazine itself, or in like Lee's Action Figure News, and it would happen, like you said, months later, and you wouldn't know, what was going on during that weekend. And then it was, I've lost track of how many years ago it was when Hasbro first started doing their actual collector events. It must have been like 15, 20 years ago, something like that. I'm trying to remember. I was at one of the first, and I don't recall off the top of my head what was shown at that. But I think I definitely saw a Sigma 6 one around 2005.
Oh, you had to mention Sigma 6, Pat.
Well, yeah, of course. Of course. Any excuse. But that was one of the early ones, I think, was Sigma 6. So I suspect the first one was probably 2003, 2004, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I wonder if anyone plays Full Force Bingo, where it's just Justin saying Sigma 6, Pat talking about Snake Eyes version 3, me talking about Snake Eyes version 4, me always saying, as always, like constantly, in every segment. I think I've put it in every segment we've ever done. Anyway. Sorry.
Threatening YouTube personalities. I think that's going to have to be a bingo card at some point.
We'll find that at the end. We'll find out what Justin's talking about at the end of the show. But yeah, like just actually, again, this is completely off topic, but the hungry hippos statement you made earlier has made me think of the most amazing meme ever, and it would be, you know, a game of hungry hippos where you've got like Hiss Tank, I don't know, like TFW, the Full Force, TNI, whoever it would be, like as the news, trying to get the news and stuff, and then all of the little balls would be like Toy Fair, like PulseCon and things like that. That would be so. That needs to happen. Someone needs to make that meme because I can't be bothered right now. Anyway, yeah, like and another good point you mentioned there, Pat, is the fact that Toy Fair wasn't supposed to be this thing. Like, it was a completely different. There was a completely different reason for its emergence. And I'd mentioned a few, like I think last episode when I was speaking to Justin, or maybe on something else, that the fact that you kind of have to give it to the bigger companies to just go like, let's market the crap out of this. Let's, you know, put our product out there and then create the hype and the buzz for the collectors going forward. And that, like, you know, it's a great place to launch a line as a small company, as a bigger company. It's a great place because everyone's eyes are on it. You've got people that, like you say, like, you know, you've got all those different, you know, news sources fighting to try and get images and stuff out there. And I tell you what, it was an absolute nightmare when I was there to try and get stuff posted because Wi-Fi wasn't great. And you're trying to,
you're
like,
down in like this weird like little alcove, and yeah, it's tough to even get a signal down there. Yeah.
Even with the, you know, the addition that they allowed you to jump on the Wi-Fi itself, it's just like, you know, slows to a halt, doesn't it? Because everyone's on it. So yeah, that like the fact that it is such a kind of collector friendly thing now, and is only going to get more so. Like they've seen huge success as a show, and as like the companies themselves being there to get that platform to then like broadcast, you know, and like the smaller companies broadcasting, you know, we're at Toy Fair, here's what we've revealed so far, and people are like finding those small companies, and buyers are finding those small companies. So there's still a good thing attached to it, with it being that kind of marketed online thing, because it expands to like just not just the people that are at the show, but then like, you know, to the globe effectively.
Yeah, and that's a good point that Pat made, is that if the big companies start backing out, a lot of, you know, people might say, oh, big deal. So Hasbro and Mattel back out. They can still have it for the smaller companies. But the problem with that is the exposure is going to be so limited without those big names there and those big lines there, that even if the smaller companies can still leverage Toy Fair to get their product out there, they're not going to have the same number of eyes on it. And it could have, you know, ramifications down the road. So I think Pat makes a very good point about, as this continues to propagate and go on year after year, and the big companies realize, well, maybe we don't really need Toy Fair anymore, and kind of peel back, what kind of impact is that going to have on the rest of the industry? I don't think a good one. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's Toy Fair news. Cancelled this year. Didn't happen last year. Well, it didn't happen in New York. But, you know, we're going to have to wait till February again, most likely. You never know. They might even announce something further in the year. We'll see, and we'll keep you up to date on that. And also, if there are any online events, we'll be doing kind of live stream reactions to them after the fact as well. So you can look out for our coverage, which will just be us going, "Oh, isn't it great? Look at that amazing figure!" Because that's what we sound like. Anyway, next up then, and in the news I've been waiting to talk about because I can't wait for Pat's reaction here. That is and I've called it other news. YouTuber turned boxer Logan Paul had a bit of a shocker in the week when he found out that what he thought was a sealed box of first edition Pokemon cards turned out to be, yes, you guessed it, Impel G.I. Joe cards. What's even more insane is that he paid $3.5 million for the sets and was absolutely gutted when he saw the man who originally confirmed the set was real open the box. Logan purchased the set from a friend who also spent a fortune on them in the first place. Thankfully for Mr. Paul, his friend assured him that he would be fully refunded if the sets turned out to be fake. So let's face it, it's just a scam on a bunch of ridiculously rich people, which will be fully recouped on the actual fake reveal video anyway, most likely. Pat, pretty strong reaction to the Joe brand on that video as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Pat was personally offended.
What?
So Pat was personally offended.
I was. Yeah, that's right. I mean, he got G.I. Joe cards. If they'd been something stupid when he opened them up, I could see it being something to complain about, but 3.5 million, okay, that's fine. It's GI Joe.
Pat spent that last week on
He
GI
can
Joe.
afford that.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? Like the obviously they can afford to do this stuff. You know, obviously you can if you can afford to drop 3.5 million on something like that, you're probably all right generally. And the fact that he's also getting that money refunded anyway, it's kind of like it's irrelevant. I think he was kind of putting across this kind of like pain of. I think one of the quotes was, you know, I went from 11 first edition Pokemon boxes to 5, and I'm like, you still got 5 first edition boxes. Like, that's great. Like, just enjoy what you have. And do you have to really buy all of? I don't know. Obviously a lot of it is for attention, and it's for hits and views, and obviously that generates a lot of money, and obviously a lot of, you know, awareness. I get that, and I totally understand it. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, come on, like, just enjoy the things you have rather than worrying about getting multiples. That's like us going like, oh, I've only got these like 5 2-ups, and I want all of the 2-ups. Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on. I know Pat's like, I actually do want that.
Well, yeah, I've actually lamented similar things. So,
well, at least the 2-ups would be different. I mean, he's just got more of the same. It'd be like saying, well, I'm not happy with my 1 hit and run 2-up. I want, you know,
I want
50
all the
hit and run
Ninja
2-ups.
Commandos. I want all the Ninja Commandos. I don't
I
want.
do want all the Ninja Commandos.
But do you want like all of the multiples of the same one? Is what I'm saying, Pat.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't do that.
No, you want a
Yeah,
set of them. I get, and you want variants and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I understand that, but you don't want like the same one. You don't want to just like buy all of the Royal Guards. Adam Riches.
Yeah, Adam does. Yeah, it's a bad example.
Terrible example. They must be really hard to come by now. He has like so many of them. Or that guy that you sent an image of me the other day who collects all Spearhead and Maxes. That was incredible, by the way. To see that flag just full of Spearhead and Max. That was quite astonishing. But anyway, Pat, tell us what you really think.
No, I'm not going to repeat it. I was talking. Chris was not recording, and I called Logan Paul out.
We're going to try and set up a boxing match between Pat and Logan Paul, obviously for exposure for their channel more than ours. That's a joke, obviously, and obviously because Pat wants to get paid. He wants, yeah.
Hey, if there's money in it, I will gladly kick his ass.
Hey, he's undefeated. But Logan Paul's undefeated. Isn't he in the boxing ring? I mean, Pat could really.
I don't know how. I know obviously Jake Paul has been.
I probably get them all mixed up.
His brother.
Well,
yeah. All right, his brother.
They're both boxers, but Jake Paul's the one
I
that's
don't know
been.
if he's undefeated. Maybe in the ring, but I'm pretty sure GI Joe just defeated Logan Paul.
There you go.
Oh,
Pat's
snap.
called him out. We can set that up. Just, you know, get your people to contact our people, and we'll set Pat up in the ring with Logan Paul.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
Only if there's a lot of money involved. We don't get out of bed for less than 3.5 million. Yeah, 3.5 million.
It's going to have to be life changing to get myself destroyed.
He's got a couple.
Well, I mean, just think about.
I'll just bring GI Joe cards at him and insult him the whole time.
Well, win or lose, even if you step in the ring and like go down in 30 seconds, you're still going to get probably 6 figures out of it. I mean, come on, I'll let him punch me in the face for 6 figures.
Oh, do you know what would be great if we can get Pat to dress up like Big Boa for the event as well.
Oh man!
Get the Cobra boxing gloves. Get that like cross strap with the spikes on it.
Well, you have to have the helmet on, and then he can take it off or whatever, and be like, "Yo."
You're making it sound better and better. This is very true.
This is going to happen.
But I want the spikes to protect myself.
Yeah, you're going to have to be covered.
Is it kind of cheating? Be wearing spikes and be boxing?
Well, it'll probably be more like a wrestling event, so you'll probably look more like the Legion of Doom than like those plastic ones sticking off you. We could.
It's a boxing match, and the first thing Pat does is climb on the turnbuckle and like jump on him. It's like, wait, you can't do that.
Amazing. I'd laugh now if there's a huge miscommunication issue here, and their channel contacts actual Patrick Stewart for a fight, and then we've basically started. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be amazing. Anyway.
And he dresses up like Big Boa.
Yeah, even better. But yeah, I must admit, when I watched, I did watch the video, so I have kind of contributed to that, you know, scenario. But when it was like the G.I. Joe stuff was revealed, I couldn't help but laugh. Like, it was just like, wow, like, how could you? I mean, a lot of people were duped. I mean, it looked like incredible forgery, and that's something that we've seen like in the past in Star Wars. We've seen it. We've seen all sorts of kind of, you know, scandals in the collector community. But the Star Wars one sticks out to me as like one of the biggest. The kind of recard, you know, like the was it like the kind of the uncut sheets of card, but then they put bubbles on them and they put loose figures in them and that kind of stuff. And that started circulating within the community. And now collectors don't even know if they actually have real, you know, versions of those original Kenner figures. So like, that's the one that kind of sticks out in my mind as the biggest. Are there any others? I can't think of any.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
And
the interesting thing is he actually had like representative from a company that examines this stuff and certifies it. And that guy he looked like he was about to cry. I mean, he was like, well, we all got duped, right? And kind of looking around nervously, like, it's not my fault. I mean, we all got duped, right? And so, yeah.
I mean, that's like looking at what they had, it did look legitimate. Like, I'm not an expert in that stuff, but like, you know, like you were saying, like the wear on the sticker and like the lines on the sticker matched the card and everything. So there's been like an attempt to really properly forge that. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's crazy. But then again, you're talking about millions of dollars, so obviously people are going to be willing to do something like that, aren't they?
Man, it's funny whenever I hear stories, and especially seeing that on video. Back in the day, like many years ago, I worked for a company called Funkoland, which is a video game company, which eventually got bought out by GameStop. So GameStop kind of is the umbrella company now, but back then Funkoland, they sold Pokemon cards like crazy, and I was working there when they first came out. So I mean, seeing those cases, I mean, I have vivid memories of getting those cases off a UPS truck and cutting them open and, you know, tearing open the boxes and putting them on display, and you're just like, $3.5 million, my God! For
if only you'd known. You kept all the Beanie Babies, but you cut open all.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a pile of those useless pieces of junk. But Pokemon cards, nah, they're gone.
Mate, that's it. But when I think about what has passed through my hands as a child. Yeah. To, you know, if I'd have known, like if you had any idea of all of this stuff, and today it's not the same. Like you go to a store and you see stuff, you know it's not going to be worth millions in the future. You just know it's not,
right? Because
it's like produced on a bigger scale, or it's more people are aware of that, so they keep them. So
there's a collector mentality now that there wasn't 20, 30 years ago. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some stuff like that, but very, very rare. And you're going to have to be real lucky. Anyway. We'll be setting up the fight between Pat and Logan Paul in the future. We're going to start.
Well, I think what
Pat's like, it's only better happen if I get paid. If I don't get paid, it's not happening.
What really got Pat's goat, I think, which kind of got me too, was his reaction. Like when he's like, of all things, it had to be G.I. Joe. And
yeah,
it's
what
like,
does that mean?
Dude, what's your issue with G.I. Joe? I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not $3.5 million, but he seemed to have like a vehement, visceral reaction to G.I. Joe. I don't know what his problem is with it, but we'll have Pat find out as he's beating his ass in the ring.
Right.
Dressed as Big Boa. Amazing. Oh, it gets better and better. Anyway, okay. Well, that's all the news this week in the world of G.I. Joe. Quite minimal, actually. But let's get stuck into the shout-outs now. And yeah, if you guys are up for that, should we get into shout-outs?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Everyone's like, of course. Like, it's the next thing that we do. So, of course we are. Explosion. Right then, considering Pat missed us last week, he was left us in the lurch. Just kidding. You can start, buddy. What were your shout-outs this week? And also, I should also say apologies to Philip Donnelly for not shouting him out last week.
Yeah, I was going to shout out to Philip. So yeah, I didn't realize, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't on, so I didn't notice that you guys didn't shout out to Philip. But I did watch the episode, so shout out to you guys. It brought me up to speed on all the G.I. Joe stuff. Obviously, I was not there because of the fact that I was so ridiculously busy. So I was also missing G.I. Joe news as it was popping up. So it was nice to have the ability to watch an episode from the other perspective and to see you guys fill me in on all the G.I. Joe news for well, for the multiple weeks that I was
Yeah, it
busy
was like a
to
3-week.
caught up.
It was mental, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was some stuff in there that I honestly completely missed when it popped up, like the 3-0 news.
Yep.
I didn't hear about that at all.
Yeah, that was actually that. It doesn't say it flew under the radar, but because I didn't do a news burst about it because I was on the road at the time. But the fact that a lot of people were kind of sending me it, and I'm like, yeah, I've shared it. It's out there. I've put it on the page and on Twitter and everything. But I can't really do anything about it from a news burst perspective. And then by the time I wasn't driving any longer, it didn't feel like relevant to really do a news burst on. So I waited for the weekly 3 weeks later, as you do. Obviously, it was relevant at that point. One thing I will say is Pat was busy, but he was busy packing G.I. Joe Impel cards into old Pokemon boxes.
You're gonna cause him to want to fight me with that.
Pat's a millionaire now. Can't believe it. He just hasn't been telling anybody. I'm just kidding. But if you do want to pay us lots of money to fight Pat, we're all about it. I'll be the money man in that scenario.
I like it says pay us money to fight him.
Yeah,
I mean,
Pat, come on, Pat. When this is like when Hasbro get pitched something, it becomes their property. When you appear on the full force, you belong to me.
If we were going to call them out, we needed to actually like have some GI Joe Impel packages and open them up and be like, "Damn it, it's Pokemon cards."
That's what we need to do. That's what needs to happen. I spent $3.5 on this, and all I've got is this 3.5 million's worth. Be really angry that you got more than you bargained for. Yeah. Any other shout outs, Pat?
Yeah, actually to Target. I got these in. Were you going to shout these out?
No.
Ooh,
Awesome,
nice.
man. I love the foil on the card on Cobra Commander.
Yeah, it is really nice. That was a nice way of handling things with that figure. I'm pretty happy with them. Yeah,
Nice.
Cobra Commander, very shiny. I wonder if
I like that.
if I can angle it to get your faces in there from my computer. I might be able to. You actually kind of can see my computer through that. It's crazy. Yeah, but you know what stands out to me about these is the bubble in the packaging.
Mm.
Because I looked at them and I was like, wow, that Cobra Commander, he really looks like he's just kind of hovering there. And I realized the way that they've done them, it has that tray behind the figure.
Oh, wow.
But it isn't encasing the figure so much as it is
Just
supporting
holding
it from behind.
That's great.
It really gives the figure a nice appearance of just kind of hovering there.
Do you know what
That's awesome.
it actually looks like when artists do those like actual comic covers that
Yeah.
are like homaging it? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really nice. Like usually some of those bubbles will actually be like reaching around the shoulder and holding the figure in tight. But the way that they've kind of done it, the figure is right
That's
up against
really
the
cool.
front. And then it's just kind of supported in the back.
Do you get the
It
figure?
really does a nice job of making a carded figure.
Do you get the figure rubbing on the window, like leaving paint marks and stuff at all?
Yeah, see that actually was something that I was a little bit concerned with. But considering the fact that I don't see any paint marks or anything in the front, I don't. That could end up being a problem. I'm curious to see if anyone reports that, but I've not seen that so far with any of their stuff.
I remember NECA used to struggle with that. They had a Predator with two like really long horns from like I think Predators, I think it was, and they would like scratch the interior, and you'd see these little like kind of almost like someone had signed it on the inside with.
Yeah, I've seen vintage GI Joe figures like that.
Yeah, but that's great, man. I really like that technique because it does. You're right. It looks like they're floating there, and that obviously is going to be way more appealing to someone seeing it in a retail scenario, definitely. And you're right, yeah, how like the plastic always kind of it goes around like the wrist and the arm and stuff, and you kind of really distorts.
Sometimes frustratingly so. Sometimes getting figures out of that bubble is really annoying.
Especially if like it's like I've done it a few times when it's quite late at night and like I don't want to wake anyone up or whatever, and it's like
it's always louder then, yeah.
You try and pull it out quick, and it makes a louder noise somehow. Forget it. Anyway, yeah, cool. What's the Snake Eyes card like? The back and everything.
The back of it is I don't know who this is because there's no file card on the back, so I don't have information for him, and I have no idea about this character.
Not a clue. I like that. That's really nice. What's the Cobra Commander one again? Is it what do they use on his image for the file card, Pat? Is it just an image, the same image as the front?
No, it's
Oh, it's the cartoon, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's from the cartoon. Yeah.
I saw that on, I think it was Storm Shadow recently, because they showed the new figures, you know, and everything on one of the video. On, I think like Toy Bro did it, but he showed the back card and it was the cartoon version. I was like, oh, I like that. I like that they're kind of going in like the Sunbow direction with a lot of them there. That's a nice touch, I think. Cross sell as well.
It's nice.
Yep, nice cross sell.
Very cool.
They're very well done. It is a little bit weird. Like, one of the things that stood out to me right away was Cobra Commander's shoulders kind of have those points on them in the sculpt.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird. Yep. He's never had that. But then I went back to look at art to see if he did, and indeed he does. And it's just one of those things that you never see on the style of G.I. Joe figures that we're used to. And yeah, I would say that 5-point of articulation G.I. Joe is not, you know, as good as what I'm expecting from the O-ring line, but they've done an outstanding job here. They're really nice, and I'm looking forward to getting some more of them. I still don't have that sled dog team that you guys covered last week.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Oh my god, it's one of those things I'm just happy exists in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like the fact that it's there. Like, I'm very, I don't know if I'll get one at any point, but I just love the fact that they exist. Yeah, cool, man. Is that all your shout outs?
I think that is it. Yes.
You want to shout out
so.
Logan Paul?
I had some other shout outs in the time that I was going to be on, and then I've kind of forgotten who I was going to shout out. So now I feel bad.
They're irrelevant now anyway, those people. So it's fine. If it's longer than a week, then it's not worth even bothering with, is it? Let's face
it. my memory's not so good right now. This has been a rough month for me.
Oh, poor. Well, don't worry. You're back on the show and everything's back to normal. The times are somewhat certain to a degree again. What about you, Justin? Any shout outs, bud?
Yeah, I know last week I mentioned that I was having no luck getting bats, but Hasbro Pulse finally shipped out they had a period of time of like half an hour where they had Alley Vipers and bats in stock, maybe a week or two ago. I just got some spontaneous email and clicked them and managed to get a couple. Awesome. So got those a couple days ago, which I was excited about. So I think it's my I've got 3 bats now, so I think I'm happy with that. But we'll see. If I see them in Target, I may change my mind. Then I also got this Renegade deck building set, which I've been waiting for a little while. There's a little bit of a shipping snafu with Diamond, I guess, because of a ransomware attack. So it took a little extra time to get here, but that arrived a day or two ago as well. And I've really been enjoying kind of going through the cards and checking them all out. I don't know if I'll ever play it or not, but it's been fun to kind of check it out. And
we should play it on Zoom.
We should. That'd be a cool show.
We should do that. We should do an episode, just a random special where we play a game of it to see what it's like. I reckon that'd be quite fun.
That would be fun.
I do have one as well, and Adam made me take pictures of all the cards so we could see the art yesterday. So
it's, I think,
like
how many players? 1 to 4 players. So yeah, it can go anywhere from 1 to 4.
I remembered one other thing that I got though. One other thing that I got this week. Yay! Micro toy box.
Oh, cool.
Kind of, yeah. I had to pick it up. I saw it in Target, and the reason why I bought it.
Oh, it's got a visible Duke.
With Resolute card art. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, didn't they do that? They did that with the World's Smallest, didn't they? Didn't they have some...
Yeah, I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same company as World's Smallest, Super Impulse, but this is actually a smaller than the World's Smallest Duke.
So it's no longer the World's Smallest Duke. All right.
Yeah. So... but these are neat. I bought a couple packs of them, and I opened them up, and the cross sell has some interesting stuff in it.
I can't wait for Ultra Micro Toy Box to come out, which is going to be even smaller.
Even tinier. Yeah.
Microscopic toy box. Yeah, it's just going to be like this package where you have to use a microscope to see if there's even anything in there.
Well, they could include that in here. They would just include this shrunk down as to one of the things in there, and then inside that will be a tinier.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit kid friendly. These things, the micro stuff seems to be taking off with kids.
Yeah.
There's an entire section of Target that's dedicated to that sort of thing. Although those are up near like the collector's area. But one of the things I thought was weird was the cross sell actually includes a Panther for the Masters of the Universe line, and that's not one that's been out previously. So I'm wondering if the G.I. Joe stuff will just have one or two characters added every once in a while.
Yeah,
I'm sure that'll be the case.
Cool.
But yeah, nice one, man. Is that all? Is that everyone's shout outs now? Cool. I'll start mine. As always, full force bingo. Big shout out to all the family and to my wonderful wife Kate. Love you all. It's too quiet without the folks here now. Mum and Dad have they flew back. Obviously, they had done last week. But Phoebe, our dog, has been so depressed ever since her nan and Nandad went home. So yeah, I know Justin doesn't care. He's like, I hate Phoebe. So yeah, big shout out to Phoebes, you poor thing. She's like,
if I come visit, she won't be depressed anymore. She'll just be angry.
She'll just be angry again. Yeah. No. Yeah. We'll get her to love you. Don't worry, it's fine. Also to Brian Sauer for the awesome Winter Ninja Force Storm Shadow version 3 graphics, which are just amazing. And also to Brian for sending me these awesome new Series 5 and 6 micro machines, including an odd packing error, which I'll obviously put images up on the side because where the hell have I put those? They were somewhere. I think I've put them away in my desk, so it's going to take me... There's no way I'm going to be finding those out, so I'll flash up images. But thank you, Brian, for those. Really appreciate the micro machines. And also, speaking of micro machines, massive shout out to Ben Holmes, patron of our fine show, for sending me his old collection of micro machines, which I'll flash up on screen as well. You are too kind, Ben. Thank you ever so much. He also shared this incredible piece of art he did of the Joe's Mortar Specialist downtown. Generous and talented, the perfect combination. Thank you, Ben. Really nice, thing you said in the email as well. Really appreciate your support. Really appreciate getting those things as well. And the micro machines are really cool. Again, you can see those on the screen. He sent me loads. So yeah, really nice, cool little collection there, and I can add them to mine now. So thank you so much. And also, it's been like obviously last week, Justin and I talked about the Hasbro mailer, the G.I. Joe mailer, which turned into this epic story from my end where Hasbro had delivered it. It ended up in my mail area and had gone, when I got home, wasn't there anymore. So it had obviously been taken, missing package, whatever. Anyway, turned into a bit of a mission. The complex, the apartment complex we live in, wouldn't take responsibility, which is very, very annoying. They checked for me on their CCTV. They said that it might have been delivered it might have been put in front of our door, in actual fact, by one of the maintenance crew. I don't think that's the case. I think they got it mistaken with another package. But it looks as though it was taken and stolen. Anyway, long story short, I'm emailed Hasbro to let them know and to say that, if you need to file a claim, maybe if they probably don't care, being a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's out anyway. I don't think they give a crap. But they actually responded and said, "Well, we're going to send you another one." And I was just like, amazing. So thank you. I wasn't angling for that. I swear I wasn't angling for that. But it's happened anyway. So that'll be coming in soon. So massive, massive shout out to Hasbro for sorting all that out, and really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see it and get all the cool stuff out and do an unboxing video 6 weeks late. But that was really nice, and I really appreciate that. Anyway, yeah, that's all my shout outs for the week. Of course, we continue to support the LGBTQ plus community, and as always, stand fast with the Asian and Pacific Islander communities in saying Stop Asian Hate. We do not discriminate against any minority and want the show to be a fun and safe environment for anybody, no matter their background, except Logan Paul, who's going to fight Pat very soon. To our patrons,
do not stand with Logan Paul.
Listeners and viewers, we do not. Thank you so much for the support. As I mentioned, we've had a few of our patrons kind of like send us really nice emails and messages, and our listeners in general. The comments have been great, and everything you guys have been saying. We love the support. It's all very appreciated, and we're going to try and churn out even more content for you. So here's to a massive 2022. Thank you, as always, to my wonderful co-hosts, to Pat, to Justin. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on again. Really appreciate it, lads.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Yep. Thanks for having me on again.
Lies. Pat's like, I can't believe you're going to make me fight Logan Paul. Anyway, it's gonna have to be a lot of money. So just saying that out loud, if they do want to approach us, it's gonna be, you know, $3.5 million minimum. That
$3.5 million minimum, and I get all the GI Joe cards.
Yeah, you go. I wonder what's happened to those. He's probably burned them or something in a fit of rage. But anyway, yes, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for watching the Full Force Weekly. Massive thank you to my awesome co-hosts, Patrick Notpicard Stewart and Justin General Joe's Bell. Actually, before we go, Justin, I've never asked you this in the past. Where does General's Joe's come from? Why that name?
I know.
Yeah, Pat knows. I mean, way back when, you know, for whatever, like the very first time I set up an email account, I set it up through AOL. And for whatever random reason, I selected Clayton Abernathy at AOL.com as my email username. So I kind of became General Hawk as that personality within the GI Joe community. That was kind of my first nickname, so to speak. So when I started my website, it was, you know, General Hawk's GI Joe page. And then I had to buy a URL when I went from Angel Fire to an actual hosted website. And so I just shortened it from General Hawk's GI Joe page to General's Joe's. And
amazing. I wasn't expecting such a concise and like good story. I was expecting, I just picked it. But that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Of course, Pat already knew. I should have asked Pat.
well, back in those days, I mean, that was a long time ago, and there was the biggest kind of simmering conflict back then was sort of cartoon versus comic and all that. I mean, there was lots of, you know, we're not one big, well, not everybody's a big happy family these days, but we're not, you know, I think GI Joe fans by and large kind of embrace everything or most everything. But back then there was definitely dividing lines between, you know, comic is better. And I was leaned on the comic side. So to me, General Hawk was kind of a representative of the comic because he appeared in the comic far before he appeared in the Sunbow cartoons. So that was kind of, you know, my little claim to, you know, I'm a comic fan, so General Hawk is sort of my online identity, so to speak. But
fantastic. Well, now we know, and you know what that means. Something about battles. Anyway, to finish off, see you next time, and as always, 1, 2, 3, full force. Perfect, as always. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.